Yo, what's going on, y'all? It's your boy SoSo, and welcome back to the channel. Make sure you're hitting that like, comment, and subscribe button, and most importantly, turn on your notifications. That way you guys get notified when we drop hits like this. This week on Sports with SoSo, we're bringing you up with all the current events on what's going down in Miami, plus we update you on the Heat and Jimmy Butler situation. It's time to take a ride, y'all. Let's go! My dog, we are back. Look at this guy here in person, y'all.
Hey, it's been a while, dog.
It's been a while. It's been a while.
I thought anybody missed me. You know?
Yeah, well, of course the people missed you, dog. They missed the podcast episodes every now and then.
I was missing them. And yeah, we haven't done this, dog. We've been strictly OnlyFans for a little while. Which shout out OnlyFans. If you haven't watched that already, go check that out.
Week 18.
Went in on a Week 18 final regular season game for the Dolphins.
A lot of emotions in that one, dog.
A lot. That was a long one, dog. That was one of our longest ones of the season.
For sure.
Probably because we hadn't talked in a little while, a couple of weeks and all that. I was traveling abroad on vacation for the holidays, and you know we needed to catch up on a lot of things. But
yeah, man.
Yeah, go check that out. That was a good one.
It's a good one. It's a good one, and we got a little update for you guys on a lot of the stuff that we covered on that episode of OnlyFans. But you know, like I said in the headlines, this is like a little
refresher,
refresher, if you may, right? On what's been going down in the state of sports in Miami, man. Off the top, I gotta shout out the Hurricanes, right?
Okay.
Even though they took the loss in the Pop-Tarts Bowl, right? They ended up losing to Iowa State. Shout out to my father-in-law, big Iowa State guy. He really is, dog.
It's so random.
I mean, he went there, dog. So
I get
understand
it. It's so random that he went there, though. Like
it's random that we ended up playing them in the Pop-Tarts
That was the other
Bowl,
thing,
right?
But you want to shout them out in what sense? What kind? Because I want to hear this.
Because I feel like, you know, me, I've been really hard on Cristobal and how the program has gone.
Okay.
Right? And granted, I was still upset with how the season ended. Losing 2 out of your last 3 games to get yourself out of the playoffs is never a good thing. But the fact that we were right there on the cusp, right, as far as one of the better teams in the nation, without a doubt, right? There's no doubt anybody can say that the Miami Hurricanes weren't a top 15, top 20 team this year, right? And for that program to be at that level now is a big step from where they were, right, when Mario got there. More importantly, we have to shout out Cam Ward, right? He became the all-time D1 leader in passing touchdowns. An amazing record for a guy who had a
for the
hell
Hurricanes,
of a run.
Not for the division, not for D1.
No, I think it's D1, dog. Double check, but I think it's D1, man. And you know, he was able to accomplish that, right, by being in such a prolific offense like the Hurricanes had this year. And the fact that he got shit for not playing the second half is like, those people don't understand what football's about, dog. You know what I mean? Like, you got to know that this dude has done everything that he could for this program, right? Especially coming in as a transfer portal guy, to elevate the program to where it went. And then, obviously, we know that his next level is being in the NFL, right? He's a projected top 3 pick. So, yeah, it made sense for him to get his records, right? Do his thing, give the Hurricanes a lead or at least a chance to fight and win that game, and then gracefully bow out to let the other backup quarterback do his thing without risking himself and his future. So I understood that. And we also have to shout out our guy, Andy Borregales, man. He became the all-time points leader for the Hurricanes in that game. And he's been, you know, one of the most consistent kickers in Miami Hurricanes history, you know, surpassing his brother, which is an amazing kicker who got drafted, Jose. And shout out to Jose too, man. So yeah, you know, it's good to see the guys that we like, right? Restrepo did his thing this year. He didn't play in the game, and those guys held it down. Even Damian Martinez, bro, I felt like he really turned up towards the end of the season. He had a great bowl game in the Pop-Tarts Bowl. So I want to give the program its due respect, right? I still have my feelings towards how the season ended for them, but I can see the picture a little bit more clear now, right? They're still going to upgrade the quarterback position. They're going to add some pieces. We've seen a lot of the transfer news of players that they're getting, including an offensive lineman and one of the top 5 cornerbacks of the nation. So it's nice to see that program continue to do the right thing and do good things. Now I think the next level for them, or that next, you know, step that they got to take is winning big games, right? And winning the ACC. We're going to harp on that forever until it happens.
I mean, you go down and to say, you know, how do you actually go about doing that, right? And there was, you know, one thing that was clear and obvious throughout the whole season that was a constant theme for the Hurricanes, and that was the absence of a dominant or even like just like serviceable defense, bro. Because we had some players on defense, you know, that you can think about, you know, Wesley Bassane and Ruben Bain, and you know, a couple guys that you can mention, but the secondary was trash.
Yeah,
the defense as a whole was not a unit. We let sorry schools put up points on us.
Yeah.
And frankly, if you're not going to lay into them, I really thought I was going to get that SoSo this episode, but I guess you're starting off the year friendly, so I guess I'll be the bad guy.
You could be the bad guy.
I mean, it was absolutely disappointing the way that season ended, man. From the highs that this Hurricane team had this year with a Heisman hopeful and finalist and Cam Ward, who came out of the transfer portal, so your window is this big. This was the year. You know, and maybe it wasn't the year to win it all, but it was the year to definitely get into the playoff and make some noise.
For sure.
Do something that, you know, that we have been seeing all year long as far as the playmaking ability of Cam Ward to make up for the lack of defense.
Right.
Why? Because the defense is going to give up a punt return after a touchdown, right? For
or
a
just
touchdown.
Give up easy touchdowns.
Or give up an easy touchdown, some bullshit where they, you know, miss an assignment or just can't wrap up.
Yeah.
And then now we got to put it on Superman's back. And Cam did it time and time again. And to see the way it went down at the end of the season for us to lose and end up in what was the Pop-Tart Bowl against Iowa State. Again, no offense.
No disrespect.
But for a team that almost broke the top 5 this year in the, you know, the CFP rankings, it's highly disappointing.
For sure. And I think that a lot of that has to do with, you know, there was a lot of lipstick on an ugly pig, right? And Cam Ward was that lipstick. You know, he put a lot of the good positive vibes out on the film, on tape, and on the field, right? By being able to continually score and put up amazing numbers, throw for so many yards and touchdowns and shit. But when we look at the makeup of the team, it was flawed from the beginning, and we didn't really notice it in the early stages because obviously the opponents weren't as good as you were referencing. But as the schedule got tougher, we started noticing those holes getting bigger, right? And like I said, you know, Cam Ward's greatness was able to erase a lot of that. But there was going to come a time, right, even though as Miami fans, we may have not recognized it or wanted to address it, but there was going to come a time where all that shit was going to fall apart because we weren't built structurally sound, right? So for them to get as far as they did on the strength of his play and some of the other seniors and shit like that was really an accomplishment in itself, because we know this defense was terrible. It was ranked outside of the top 100 schools in D1, which is really hard to do because there's bad teams out there. But yeah, when you have a defense like that, it's only a matter of time, right? And you know, like Cinderella, that glass slipper turned into something else, and that carriage turned into a pumpkin, and it was a wrap, you know. And the signs were there, even in the Pop-Tarts Bowl, right, where there were guys making plays, but you can see the big holes and the big like misgivings that this team had throughout the year that we as fans were able to ignore because they were winning easier games and because of Cam Ward's play. So
I'm glad you mentioned it again on the Pop-Tarts Bowl. That was the other thing I wanted to address as far as your approach and, you know, kind of your breakdown of Cam and the way that went down. There was a lot of unhappy fans.
Yeah.
I mean, you kind of glossed over it and said it was commendable and serviceable, and he gracefully bowed out. It was kind of a bitch move for him to do what he did, dog.
Nah, no way,
because if you really wanted to be a team player at that point and save yourself for the draft, you don't do that at halftime, homie. You do that before the game, and you give the backup enough time to take practice with the ones and the coach to scheme for you properly to go out there and give you a chance, dog. Yo, they should have won that game, and the fact that Cam bowed out halfway,
we weren't gonna win that game.
100. But that was, bro.
Even
it
with
didn't
Cam
help.
in it.
It didn't help for him to do the way he did it, dog. It was kind of a bitch move.
I get it, and I don't think it's a bitch move for this reason, because as good as Cam was, he wasn't gonna lift that team to a victory that day, dog. Because like I said, the holes that they had were too big. They were too exposed, right? And we saw that shit in the first quarter. Both teams put up 3 touchdowns in the first quarter. So that let me know, right off rip, that regardless of whatever Cam would have done that day, he could have thrown for 500 yards with 8 touchdowns, and we still probably would have lost, because it would have came down to a last possession. Iowa State would have had the ball, and they would have been able to walk down the field, right? Not even march, just walk down the field and get the score to get the win. And I get it, dog, why people feel like that's a bitch move, but at the end of the day, He's looking out for himself. And as a kid,
but again, that's what I take exception with.
But this is why I say the school has a big part to play with that, right? Yes, he was covered financially by the insurance, right, that the Hurricanes put on him for him to play in that game. But it wasn't the amount that Shador had. It wasn't the amount that Hunter had. You know what I'm saying? Like there were other players that are going to be playing in the playoffs that have higher protection than what Cam did. So if you're Cam, you can't risk that, dog.
I get that, but why even play in the first place?
Because you're the best shot that we have, and it was evident. It was evident, and this is why I say, I'm my bad to cut you off, but like this is why I say it was going to happen anyways. The lipstick was on the pig, because that kid Emory Williams who played that second half, dog, can't throw a football. So imagine that game had Emory Williams started would have been 42-0 at halftime, and then we would have been killing.
Man, that was really bad timing for that. Why are they picking up the trash at this time?
Because we're talking about Williams. That's why.
Jesus
we're
Christ.
talking about Emory Williams. But yeah, dog, it was evident that kid is not a quarterback. And again, if he didn't get the shot.
Where's your mic? I don't see your mic.
Right.
It's right here. Oh, all right. My bad. Sorry about that, folks. I got to be director and I'm top producer and, all that.
You're riding a bike, baby.
Anyway, sorry, but
yeah,
you were saying.
Like I said, the backup situation in that was not good, right? And even if you would have given this guy all the reps before this game, he still wouldn't have been good.
Yeah, but again, bro, like it just left a bad taste in my mouth. It's like
in a lot of fans.
If he says, "Yo, I'm gonna forego this final game against Iowa State. We didn't make it. I love you guys. I gave it my all, but I'm really gonna save myself." Cool, man. I respect that. But to go out there and just kind of leave your teammates high and dry in the last game of your career as a Hurricane, that's the lasting image that I have of you as a Hurricane. After all the great things you did this season, bro, to like make us like happy and rejoice, and you're gonna kind of bow out on the final stretch, bro, right before you get to the ribbon, dog.
I know it seems like that.
It's just kind of whack.
I know it seems like that, but I got it on real good information. You know who I'm talking about, right? That he wanted to play, and they were like, "Nah, you've done enough. You've done enough, bro. And we don't want to be responsible for anything that could or may happen to you. Let's see what this other guy has."
Well, so if it is that, if it wasn't his decision to step out of the game and
even
somebody else, then all right, then so be it. But if he had the decision, they were like, "Hey, what do you want to do?" And he was like, "Yeah, I'm done."
He's not that, dog. He's a competitor. You know what I mean? And I don't think it was that. It's so much so that even on the last drive, right, where it was like, "Well, is Cam coming back in?" Dog, there were still shots of him like telling the coach, like, "Yo, grab my helmet." And they're like, "Nah, play." He's like, "Yo, grab my helmet. I'm going in there. I'm gonna win this game for us." And he's like, "Nah, bro. Like, we're a minute out from this game being over, dog. It's not that important." But yeah, they didn't end the season well, right? 3 losses in their last 4 games. That sucks. But I think that Mario has shown an ability to build a team up, to find talent, to bring in talent, and excel in the key areas, right? We saw the offensive line really gel this year and be a formidable force. The running game was able to produce behind it. They kept Cam Ward clean for a lot of the games. D-line is going to improve. And the defensive backs, man, like I said earlier, they already got in some transfer portal recruits that they're going to be able to improve that defense. So let's see what Mario's next step is, right?
Yeah.
And whether or not he's able to get another quarterback that can not be at Cam's level, because that's really hard to do.
That's going to be really hard.
That's really hard to do. But shit, if you can drive the car, right, and not necessarily have to hit it at 100 miles per hour, just drive it at 80, 75, I think that's good enough for a team as talented on paper as the Hurricanes are. Who's the other guys that we got to shout out, man? Oh, all my guys in BKFC, dog. BKFC in Hollywood, dog. What a fucking great night that was,
I'm sad I wasn't here for that card, bro. That card looked
great card.
Really good.
Great card, man. Great card. And for me, I'm always paying attention to like who the up-and-comers are and stuff like that. Ran into Dustin Poirier and our guy from Delray Beach Boxing, Deja Ali. He was out there with Dustin. His fighter put on a great performance, one of the great knockouts of that evening. But we saw a lot of our guys do their thing, bro. Gallo was back in the ring. He looked sharp.
I saw him get into it with
very sharp.
What's his face?
With Mike Perry.
No, he got into it with the other kid, the champ.
That rematch is bound to happen. King Kai, man. Yeah,
Kai.
that rematch is bound to
Who's
happen.
been on the show before, so
Yes.
shout out to Kai.
Yes,
you know,
man. Great champion, and elevating BKFC as a sport. We saw Justin do his thing. He looked sharp as ever. I'm interested to see him get his title shot because the guy who owns the title is another Miami guy. Shout out to El Indio. And I would love to see those guys in the ring and prove who's better at that point. And El Zambo, bro, that guy continues to shock me how a guy of his size, dog, and we've both seen him, up close and personal. That's a big boy.
Oh, yeah.
For him to be able to move that fast and hit that hard.
What, another first-round knockout?
Another first-round knockout. Fight didn't even go a minute and 30 seconds.
Did you put any money on that? I mean,
I did. I mean,
bro,
it wasn't a lot because those guys were heavily favored.
Still, bro,
but still,
if there's a prop bet on Hard Rock for him to get a first-round knockout, bro,
that's the bet of the evening.
That's the bet right there,
that's
bro.
The bet of the
like
evening, dog. That guy's not going to let you down.
Yeah.
And funny enough, dog, there were a lot of heavyweights in the building that night. Some of the guys were going to be fighting in Knucklemania up in Philly this next weekend. And a lot of those guys look to me like if they're dodging this guy. And this is a guy who doesn't speak English, came from Cuba, he's still getting acclimated to American culture and shit like that. But there's one thing he knows how to do, and it's knock out guys and finish fights. So I'm interested to see if if Feldman and the matchmakers there can find somebody to actually step up of that championship level, right? Because there's plenty of guys. Lorenzo Hell, Rothman is out there. You got the Marine, who had an impressive win as well. The Richmond, the Marine, got another knockout. He beat Deadpool, got the light heavyweight belt back. There's guys out there that can fit that description. And I want to see those guys take on the challenge of finding Zambo, dog, because I need to see this guy fight not this any of his opponents, but I want him to fight a former champion, a former contender, to see where he really stands on this heavyweight ranking, right, when it comes to BKFC, man. But like I said, there's going to be some heavyweight fights up in Knucklemania. I encourage you guys to check that shit out on the Zone Boxing. It's cheap, $10, or you can buy it on the BKFC app for like $6.99 or something like that. And what you're going to get is knockouts. You're going to get impressive fights, man.
Friday nights, too, they always put them.
They're always putting up good fights, man.
What about our boys, dog? Our boys, Francesco and Justin, how'd they do?
Justin did great, bro. Looked sharp. Got another first-round finish with an amazing knockout against a bigger, taller, stronger opponent, right? Which is not something that we've seen Justin fight before in there.
Yeah.
And he looked impressive, bro. Shout out to his trainer too, Am. Those people, they're doing a real good job with Justin and leveling him up and building him up, dog. That's why I'm very interested to see him get that title shot against El Indio. And you mentioned Frank, bro. Shout out to Frank. That's the Italian stallion right there, man. OG.
That right hand is deadly.
Brother, he is back, man. He looks sharp as well, bro. He got a first-round finish. And the way that he did it, he didn't get a first-round finish. The fight went all 5 rounds. But the way he attacked his opponent, Frank was usually a guy going straight forward and really trying to end the fight quickly. Brother, this guy showed an immense amount of patience. He was really toying with his opponent, talking a lot of shit to him during the fight. But he was piecing him up the whole time. And one thing that I commend Frank for is not being that war-ready mentality type of guy where he was able to go in there, really, showcase his boxing skills in that division, which not a lot of guys have, and came out clean, bro. Came out clean and looking like he's ready to fight, bro. So I was really happy to see him get the win and get some ring rust off, right, after being out for almost 2 years.
And the way that he last went out, the last time we saw him fight,
it's hard to come back from shit like that,
and it sucks, when you get to know some of these guys, and you see them get knocked out like that, and you see them get back in the ring, you wonder, are they going to be the same as they were before that, or are they going to be another knockout or another highlight? And to hear that he bounced back like that, man, shout out to Frank, man. That's awesome. Glad to hear that.
And you mentioned
and the Joy Boy too, man. That's going to be the next big superstar in BKFC.
I think so too.
He's got all the makings of a superstar.
And look, when Conor McGregor puts you on his Instagram and says this is the future of BKFC, yeah, he's got a point. It's not just Conor talking shit to hype up BKFC. It's because Justin is that talented.
Yeah, he has it. He has the talent. He has the persona. He has it all.
Everything, bro. Showmanship, dog. That guy brought out a fucking Santa Claus bag, was throwing out gifts to people. It was amazing. It was amazing. So shout out to BKFC for having us there. It was a great night. Shout out to all the fighters that participated, win, lose, or draw. You guys, put on an excellent show, and that's what fans go out there to see, bro. Another packed event. Another packed event at the Hard Rock, dog.
Yeah. I'll be back.
That's BKFC's home right there. They can travel all over the world, LA, Italy. They're going to Dubai now, and Hollywood, man. The Hard Rock. That's where BKFC's
That's where
home
it's
is,
at.
dog. Real quick, I have to talk about the Marlins because it's come up in my chat a lot. Fuck the Marlins. Yeah, fuck the Marlins. As a staff, record label, and a crew, because they switch owners, they switch GMs, they get
I'm
rid of
done.
it, and they make all these moves, dog, to do nothing.
I'm
to
done.
stand pat, to fucking suck the money out of the city or with that stadium that they have, which is a beautiful stadium, but they can't do shit with it. It's very frustrating, and it feels like they don't care.
Maybe we should lead a boycott, like as a podcast, like our 2025.
Start one?
Yeah, maybe like one of our 2025 goals or initiatives as a podcast should be
Shut down the Marlins?
boycott and protest the Marlins franchise, bro.
Yeah.
Because we want to root for our team, bro.
That's
Like
why
our
it's huge
Latin
here.
roots, like are heavily tied to baseball. You know what I mean? Our parents, our uncles, like our fam, like you know what I mean? And our grandparents, like that's their sport. It's not football. That's our sport. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's not soccer. Like we don't come from that.
Right.
Like it's baseball, dog. And what the Marlins franchise is doing or not doing, I should say, is an atrocity, man. It's really sad because we want to be able to root for our team, bro. And the fact that they haven't spent a single dollar yet in the offseason and
It's
baseball
wild.
ended 3 months ago now,
wild.
is a disrespect to the fan base and
Absolutely.
a disrespect to the city of Miami.
And it's a disrespect to baseball because how do you have an owner come in, right, get some type of media attention and then come out and say, no, we're going to be spenders, we're going to try to do this, and add some pieces, this, that, and the third. But in the meantime, they've traded pretty much all their top talent.
Yep.
Got back a bunch of prospects that nobody knows, right, that aren't necessarily highly rated, and then not signed a single fucking player. Not one. Not a minor league contract, not a veteran pitcher who's like on his last leg. Nothing. These guys have done nothing. And it's a complete atrocity.
An embarrassment.
To this city, dog, because this city does love baseball. And it's full of baseball fans.
Look at the World Baseball Classic.
That's one thing. But, like, check out when another team comes that actually has talent and how that place fills up.
Oh, yeah.
You bring in the Dodgers, you bring in the Brewers, you bring in the Yankees, Red Sox,
the Braves,
Astros, Braves, Phillies. You get what I'm saying? Like, and that place will fill up because they know what good baseball is, and they want to go out there and see good baseball. But when you got 162 games and 81 games at home of pure shit, where people are coming to see the other team, that's not it, dog. That's not it. That's not it, man.
We should really maybe consider going to opening day, but
fuck those guys.
Not going in.
Won't be there. I mean, I'm going, dog.
Just boycotting, just standing and doing a protest.
Yeah, you know what I mean?
A peaceful protest.
I might just have my boy Steve fucking make me a shirt with the owner, right?
Yeah.
And like his pockets like inside out, like I need money, and just walk around the stadium with that, dog. I'm sure I'll get kicked out.
If you guys feel the same way we do, and maybe we should take this a little serious, let us know. Drop a comment down below.
Hell yeah, and we'll collab with Steve at Empire, dog. Shout out to my brother right there, man.
But yeah, I think that's all the time the Marlins deserve, frankly,
Facts.
man. They haven't given us the time. They haven't, put in any kind of effort to try to turn this into a decent, watchable franchise or a franchise worth following. So for that reason, we're done.
Yeah, I'm out. For that reason, I'm out. I'm out. Let's real quick. I know we talked about OP to start the show a little bit, but there have been some new updates, let's say, right? Tyreek Hill met with Chris Greer and Mike McDaniels today. They talked about, the fourth quarter thing that happened with Hill not wanting to play and taking himself out, and what's the accountability and the shit that he said afterwards. For me, dog, I think that's too much smoke. You get what I'm saying? Like, when there's smoke, there's fire, and there's too much smoke in there for there not to be an issue right now internally between the Dolphins and Tyreek Hill. And I alluded to it on the episode, but the fact that our owner isn't as hands-on is a problem, because then we're leaving up to the guys to take care of that. For Mike McDaniel to come out and say, oh, yeah, we fined guys, but I guess it wasn't enough because they were still showing a plate and whatever. Bro, that's a reflection of you and your leadership. And you're out here coming out to the media and saying that. It's like, that just shows me again that you don't have control of this locker room. And the boys run it in themselves. And if that's the case, then how can you ever, hope to change that narrative when both you and your GM are both hands off? Yeah, dog, these guys are gonna get crazy. They're gonna come out with comments. We saw, Jalen Ramsey say some shit, and it's like, yeah, bro, this is not where you want to be at, right? Especially the way the season ended, and then trying to, say like, well, how can we improve it? It feels like they have a lot more problems internally than what they're alluding to, and it's wild because we're seeing all these GMs get fired, coaches get fired. The news is coming out. And meanwhile, these guys are comfy. Mike McDaniel's comfy. Chris Greer, comfy. Those boys ain't worried about it, which allows Tyreek Hill to say some shit like he did, allows Jalen Ramsey to say some shit, And then Chris Greer has the balls to come out and say, yeah, we expect Tua to come back 100% next year. And it's like, what? Of course. He's going to have 6 months off to get fucking ready for game 1 of the season. Like, he better be 100%. And we don't even know if that's the case because of the hip injury, right? It's not like they're going to tell us. It just feels like they're trying to cover up a lot to kind of keep the status quo going, which, that word pisses me off when it comes to the Dolphins. But I don't know, man. It's not good. It's not good what's happening right now up in Davie, dog. I don't know how you feel about it.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about it ad nauseum, on OnlyFans about this whole Tyreek situation. It was just a surprise to, hear today that they had conversations, extensive conversations, and that he never asked for a trade. He never vocally asked them, hey, I want to be traded from the team. And then there was something else that came out that said, I think McDaniels might have said that the relationship is mendable or fixable, but it's like, okay, but what caused the rift? Is it just Tyreek's competitiveness and wanting to do better? And at the end of the day, just one bad season that you have now, because the season before that he balled out,
right?
Almost had 2,000 yards receiving and all that, and we made the playoffs. Like, you have one bad season and now you're ready to call it quits. Like, it just shows how much character, it just says a lot about your character. And Dan Orlovsky, I saw a quote that he had, basically saying like, you left the winning team for more money, and now that now that you're not winning, you're missing it or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, you can't have your cake and eat it too, big dog.
Man, this is
so
professional
you
sports.
came here to chase your money. It's the Dolphins, bro. You know what it is. We haven't won since fucking the 90s, let's say.
The knots.
And this is a situation you came into. Like, you were supposed to be the difference maker. So the fact that you are now changing your Twitter profile picture to a Photoshop picture of you on Antonio Brown's face exiting his last game in the NFL, and then your comments and stuff like that, like cryptic comments and tweets that he's had over the past couple months.
Yeah.
And Happy New Year to the Chiefs, you know what I mean? And shit like that. Like
Micah Parsons talking to him and
it
shit.
Just doesn't make us as a fan, like, we lose respect for you, dog, if you're doing that. And then now, you're going to stay, you want to stay on the team. It's like, we're not going to forget this stuff, dog. You know what I mean? Like, we're not going to forget your comments and your attitude. At the end of the game, you're going to pull yourself out of the last game of the season when we're playing a division rival, bro, and we need you.
Yeah,
like,
it's awkward.
Again.
And you're playing bad? You're playing bad?
Not the best situation. So it's very confusing to see the news that, that it's fixable and all that. But back to McDaniel and the comments that he made, I had saw that he said that guys were coming late to meetings and all that stuff, and that the context of the fining was that next year they're going to make a change and they're going to start to fine guys and things like that. But I don't know, how much that's going to be able to change that culture in that locker room.
Brother, if you're telling me that, let's say hypothetically a fine was $1,000 for being late to a meeting, and now you're going to raise it to $1,500, $2,000.
No, maybe they weren't fining at all.
No, they were. He did say that they were fining, but that the fines weren't substantial enough, right, for these guys to really get the point.
What is this guy blowing over here at 7 o'clock at night? I'm so sorry. My boy, shut that shit up. God damn, dog. Trying to record a podcast here. Jesus Christ, I'm sorry about that if it's really bad back there. It's been driving me crazy.
I'm sure he's a McDaniels fan, dog. But yeah, dog,
Or a Jets fan.
Yeah, probably. Fuck. I think that it just shows the lack of control, right? Because how do you come out and say, yeah, I fined them. They didn't really get the message. So this year I'm going to fine them more. I'm going to fine them more. Or they're going to be more penalties. It's like, yo, that's like you being a substitute teacher and be like, I don't do that. It's like, bro, I'm going to get up and fucking walk out of here. You're a substitute teacher. What are you going to do to me, right? And that's the feeling that the players have right now when it comes to McDaniels. Or at least that's what it looks like. And that's what it feels like in that locker room. And there's no way you get control of that unless you go out there and say, you know what? I don't care if you're a star player or whatever. You fuck with me, you're going to get benched.
Playtime. Cut
That's
the
it.
playtime.
You're gonna get benched, bro. We're gonna fine you a whole paycheck.
That's what hits people's egos the most, bro. The
Find
people
them
that
a
deserve.
paycheck, not a 2,005, 200, 2,000. That shit don't mean nothing to these guys. Find them a paycheck, and I bet that behavior or responsibility will get changed. You know what I mean? And that's the only way. But I don't think McDaniels is that guy. I don't see him as the hard-handed individual because of his relationship with Chris Gear, who's also not a hard-handed individual. So where are we at with the Dolphins, dog? It's more questions than answers, like always.
Yeah.
You know, which is crazy. It's just crazy to have our superstar, quote unquote superstar, and Tyreek Hill saying that he's out, open to trade, on this and that, and then just 4 days, a week before that, we're dealing with that same shit with Jimmy Butler. Same shit, but with Jimmy Butler.
Honestly, dog, there's a lot of bitch assness going around with Miami right now, dog. I know you said you were okay with it, but Cam exiting out of the Pop-Tarts Bowl in the way that he did, Jimmy with everything that's going on around him, and then now Tyreek, dog, is a whole lot of bitch assness, dog.
You know what's funny?
Not sitting well with me, dog.
I hit up Ethan and Skolnick, right? Shout out to our guy Ethan, man, from 5 Reasons. He's a good dude. They're doing good things over
5
there.
Reasons be putting out some fire local South Florida sports content and news and shit like that. So if you're not following 5 Reasons Sports,
you need to.
Make sure you're following them on Instagram. Funny ass memes too.
Yeah, absolutely. And they do a lot of good reporting, right? They have a lot of ears in the right places. And you know, I sent him a message when the shit came out about Jimmy, and it was like, dog, I can't recall two bigger divas than Tyreek Hill and Jimmy Butler since the LeBron time, right? When LeBron was about to leave and shit like that, that's when the diva-ness was at its highest, right? And it was just one guy. And now we have these two guys who haven't produced a single championship between them, right? Out here acting a fool, being unprofessional, and really making a mockery of whatever it means to be a Dolphins or a Heat. And when it comes to Jimmy, it's more frustrating with him, dog, because we're the ones who saved his ass, right? People may point at the finals that he took us to and this and that and the amazing games and the amazing memories, and all of that stuff is true because he is a talented basketball player. But we have to remember that the reason Jimmy even got here was because 3 other teams said, no, thank you, my boy. We really need you, but we don't need the bullshit. And that's what he was doing in those franchises, stirring up bullshit in Minnesota, stirring up bullshit in Philadelphia. And it got to a point where even those franchises were like, bro, we're tired of this shit. We'd rather not deal with you than to have you on the team. And for him to come here, get that opportunity with a hardworking franchise that he knows, right, the level of maturity you need to have here, the level of hard work that you need to have here, the accountability that you need to have here to be a part of this Heat organization, and then at the end of the day, when it matters the most, not be those things, it's really whack on his part. And it's our fault for not seeing through all the good things to know that Jimmy is what he is. And in my opinion, he's one of those cancerous players that if you have in your locker room when things are good, things are great. But when things are iffy or bad or not going to his liking, then you have a real problem in the locker room. You know what I'm saying? Because this guy's supposed to be one of the leaders on the team, one of the highest earners on the team, and you have these issues, you miss games, you miss 20 games, 15 games per season. It's like, how do we hold you accountable if you're not even holding yourself accountable? And then when, like, dog, and a lot of people were asking me, and I'm glad that we're talking about it right now. Because 2 times, dog?
Jesus.
Yeah, these guys are milking the overtime. These guys are milking the overtime. For it to happen, right, with Jimmy Butler at this stage, when you're trying to get a contract to set yourself up for the next 2-3 years at the highest rate that you've ever earned in your life, and you come out with this bitch shit, that's bad. Not only is that bad timing, but that just shows a lack of awareness and professionalism on his part. Because what team is going to say, hey, Jimmy, not only am I going to trade for you, I'm going to give you that fucking extension that you're looking for at 110, 120 million.
I'm sure there is some team. I'm sure there is some team out there, bro. I mean, you got to think about it. Like, there's some teams out there that would love Jimmy Butler on their team just because of his superstardom and the talent, the upside, right? The ceiling on what is Jimmy Butler. But, my thing again is kind of you talked about. It's just the way he's gone about it after being such a consummate professional, for the last few years with us and doing all the right things, saying all the right things, being a part of the community, and then to try just kind of like go about it the way he did. So much so, comments detrimental to the team where he got suspended now for 7 games, and he's cost himself multi-millions of dollars because of his comments and the way that he's gone about it. So that's my gripe with it all. Do I understand partially where he's coming from? On the money side, no, because of the fact that A, he's already gotten paid, and B, the money you're looking for, big dog,
nobody's gonna.
We didn't even give to our best franchise player ever in history. We said, D-Wade, we love you, you're a Heat lifer, but go get your money, dog.
Right.
And that's why I say that people are gonna give him a contract, because at that point, Chicago said, you know what, we're gonna give a 30-some-year-old D-Wade $100 million for 2 seasons. And guess what? We're going to turn around and trade him before halfway through the season to the Cavs, because that's just business. But, we got him here. We got him back to Chicago. Whatever. That's why I think he'll be fine. But it's like you weren't going to get that money from us, especially not at this point, not at this stage in your career. Now, if you're a gripe and you go about it in a different way, kind of stating this and kind of, expressing your feelings about, hey, I've done everything I could, but I think that my time is done here because I don't have enough to work with. Fair. I totally understand that sentiment. I agree. How many big free agents in the last couple off seasons were we supposed to land and completely missed on that were supposed to come in and help Jimmy? And guess what? The guys that are still here right now, the Heroes, the Bams, the Duncans, those guys have been here, and they haven't stepped up in the biggest of moments. I'm sorry. Those ships have sailed for me on those guys. I think they're good guys. I think they're great basketball players, but they're not what we need to attain a championship. And we didn't do enough to help Jimmy Butler in that regard. Totally understand that, but the money thing and the way you're going about it now, it's like, bro, you've just lost mad fans and mad respect here in the city of Miami. The way you gone about it.
Absolutely, dog. And there's one thing that one theme that I've been sticking to the most, right? And I got it from The Godfather Part 2. Where Michael tells Fred, don't ever take sides against the family, ever. And I felt like Jimmy did that when he came out and said, well, I don't know if my future's here or not. I lost my joy of basketball, this and that.
And then when they said, can you ever find it here again? And he said, I doubt it. Or something to that extent.
Who the fuck do you think you are, dog, to air out this laundry like that in public while you're still playing this season? If you do that before the season starts, everybody would have understood it, right? Yeah. Because you would have had some feelings towards the way the season ended, esto y lo otro. Cool, no problem. All the problems you have with Pat and shit, understood.
Right.
But now that it's game time, right, and you're working for your next contract, because technically he is working towards his next contract, and to come out here with that bitch shit is like, yeah, dog, you're not professional. And I lose respect for you on that level because of lack of professionalism. I told you.
These guys are what are we doing here, guys?
These guys are milking, Miami-Dade County.
This might either be the best podcast we've done or the worst one. I'm so sorry, though, if the audio's been
2025, baby, is what it's about.
We got to just roll with the punches.
We're rolling with it,
But like, that's that's how we feel, like, about the whole Jimmy situation. That's just trash.
It's trash.
We need to
It's trash, dog. Because, and think about it like this, Joel. If you're a professional, right, and you're trying to attain something, Tonya, I really want to get to this spot. I really want to play with this player. I'm trying to get to this team because they might be able to find a way to pay me more. You do that shit silently. You do that shit behind the scenes and say, Pat, listen, bro, this shit's not working out for me. Send me anywhere, dog. Get me out of here. But the moment you go out in public and make that type of statement to fans who are buying tickets to come see you and expect you to play, or to the younger generation who's not going to understand, right? Like, yeah, bro, it's a problem for you to do that like that. It shows a lack of awareness on his part. And I don't think that us as fans should be, taking on that shit. Like, we shouldn't have to deal with Jimmy Butler's bullshit. You mentioned the team not being good enough to help him. 100% agree, right? Bam's never lived up to the expectations that we had for him. Hero has gotten a lot of that back this year because he's been playing at an all-star level, really been going above and beyond, scoring 25 points per game, being a threat all over the NBA that they're recognizing, right? And this is his 6th year. He came in at 18, so now I feel like he's maturing into that man status, right, where he's more mature. And it shows on his games. It's showing in the way he's approaching the game, and even so in the fact, like, for instance, the shit that happened in Houston, right, when the guy threw him down on the ground. Maybe a younger Tyler Hero would have got up and tried to retaliate. Look how mentally locked in he is, right? To say, I'm not even gonna resort to that because I'm out here balling. I got you mad as fuck, and you're looking stupid in front of your people. Yeah, and I got nothing to worry about. I'm a baller. I'm doing my thing.
I don't know. I took a little exception to his reaction in that situation. I mean, you just got slammed to the ground, doggy. You better get up in somebody's grill.
But you know what, dog? Some of the best players in the NBA.
You ain't ragdolling me like that on live TV,
dog.
homie.
Listen. If that shit happens to Curry ain't fucking sweating.
That's not happening to Steph, though. But people respect Steph.
No, bro, because Draymond is on that team, so he's crazy, obviously, right? We don't have that enforcer anymore in Haslam, right? We don't have that enforcer on this team. But, like, what I mean to say is, like, if any of the best players in the NBA or one of the high-type scorers, right, that would have happened to one of those guys, they would have shrugged that shit off and said, you know what, the next time I see you, I'm going to put 53 on your head, dog. And sure enough, pom, 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 pom. And Tyler Hero put up 28. And he was telling everybody in there, go home. I just buried you guys. I just buried you. And people are jeering at him. He's like, man, y'all mad? I'm not mad. We got the dub. And I fucking scored on your best defensive player. Made him look like shit all game. Y'all go home. Go home. You lost. You know what I'm saying? That again, that shows me that he's locked into basketball.
But shout out to Terry Rozier, though, who did jump in there for his teammate right away.
He's local, dog.
He was the realest one in that whole little scuffle.
But like, it's true that the team isn't good enough to compete, and it would have been easier for Jimmy to get moved had he done things silently. And I'm not saying kiss Pat's ass or bend the knee and say, yo,
but
Pat,
who knows
but
too?
You gotta act professionally.
Maybe he did try that, playing devil's advocate here. Maybe he did try that. Maybe he did go to Pat. He tried to do it behind closed door the right way, and Pat was like, hey, bro, he ain't going nowhere, homie. This is your team until we're done with you.
This is why
that's maybe why he's lashing out. Now he has,
This is why I don't think that was the case, right? Because at the end of the season last year, right, when Pat came out and said, yo, this dude needs to shut up. This guy's talking all this shit about what he would do to New York, about what he would do to Boston, what he would do to, and we're not in there. You need to be quiet, right? They had a meeting after that, and they could have aired all that shit out then, and I'm sure it got all that shit aired out. Because again, when Pat addressed the media this year, before the season started, it was like, well, we're gonna see who wants to play. We're gonna see what type of fortitude this team has, who's gonna step up, and blah 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 blah. And so far, out of everybody on that squad, there's only one guy who's been here that's been stepping up, and that's Tyler Hero. He's been stepping up for this team, night in, night out. Best player that we have right now. For Jimmy, right, to be that guy where you're going against the grain on purpose over and over and over again, yeah, you're not gonna get results. And think about what it took for Pat to come out and say, yeah, we're not trading him. This guy's talking all this shit. His agents put all this shit out. They can say whatever the fuck they want. I hold the cards here. I'm not trading him. Think about that, dog. Pat never, ever, ever talked to the media throughout the season. Ever. Not during the Wade Shaq days, not the Alonzo days, not the LeBron era. Never were you catching that guy in a media fucking session, right, saying something about a player. Never. But it only happens because these dudes are stacking up so much bullshit behind the scenes, right, and then trying to create waves and throw rocks and hide their hands. Can't do that with Pat Riley. He's too old school, He's too old school. He doesn't play that shit. So then the Heat were like, you know what? Fuck that. We're going to suspend him. Toma ahí, 7-game suspension. Oh, you want to get traded to all these teams? Fuck that. We're only taking the best deal that works for us. And if not, we'll fucking figure out a way to sit you down But at the end of the day, you're not one-upping us. You're not going to one-up us.
Do you still have complete and complete and utter faith in Pat Riley, or have you lost the faith?
Until the day he retires, my boy. Until the day he retires.
You don't think he's maybe lost a little
Until
little
the
step?
day he retires, my boy. And here's the reason why. Number one, he's proven it over and over again that he can build contenders, whether he's 60 years old, 70 years old, or 80 years old. Pat finds a way to fucking bring the best players to this team. Guys who really want to be here and want to win championships, right? That's number one. And number two, he has had the most successful franchise in South Florida since he's got here. Not the Panthers, not the Heat, not the Dolphins, for fucking damn sure, and for sure not the Marlins. So it's been one guy here consistently doing the things the way that he does it with the backing of Mickey, right? and the head coach and the moneymaker and Andy Ellisberg, like it's his way, and his product works. It may not be everybody's cup of tea. You may want to coddle this player to get a star player and all that shit, but look how that works out for other franchises. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, but
look at
it's
the
just-
shit that Memphis was dealing with fucking John Morant. You don't want that. Look at the shit that they're dealing with in Milwaukee with the team losing 15 games early on in the season and everybody wondering if the Dame Lillard trade was even worth it. And now they're trying to get rid of other players to help
Yeah,
the
but
team
the
get
reason
better.
I ask is because you're so quick to jump all over Chris Greer and his lack of foresight for a backup for Tua and like putting that basically losing our whole season on that whole moment and Greer not having that that foresight to
Right.
get somebody better, and it's like you can kind of draw a parallel to Pat Riley in the sense that it's like, dude, we saw what this team is like, what the best case scenario for this team is, dog, and it's a play-in tournament team and maybe backdoor the playoffs to get bounced in the first round.
Right.
So the fact that we didn't do anything, it's like you got to start to question: does Pat Riley still have it, or is he starting to lose it in the modern NBA?
I get it, and it's a fair question, right? I get it, and it's a fair question. But there's one thing that we got to remember. Pat has never been afraid to wash his hands of a situation and say, fuck it, hit the reset button. And we'll have a fucking team with, I can name you terrible players after terrible season that we've had, and Spo has gotten the most out of those guys, right? Because he trusts Spo to get the most out of talent. But that dude's never been afraid to wash his hands and say, I'm going to start again.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned that. How close do you think we are to that?
We're
to
extremely
that complete
close.
reset.
We're extremely close.
Fire sale and rebuild.
We're extremely close. And I feel like the writing's on the wall with the amount of young players that we're playing. We're playing a lot of Paul Larson. Ware, the kid that we drafted.
Ware's nice.
nice.
Ware's actually been pretty impressive.
Pretty impressive, right? Tyler Hero.
Jaquez has kind of regressed a little bit.
6-year vet at 24 years old, which is wild, right? Because he came in at 18 and was a producer here. Now he's one of the leaders as the old man, I guess, on this team, right? But he's out there being still a 24-year-old player with 6-8 more years to go at a prime level of basketball. You mentioned Jaquez. He's in his second year learning how to get adjusted to the NBA and the sophomore slump and whatever. But Jovic is taking a big step. We've seen Larson take a big step. Who's the other guy that I mentioned? Where? Like this kid came in, got some time in the developmental league and came back, and look how he's producing. Like Pat knows that the future is in these young guys. It's not in Jimmy and Bam, because I think the writing's on the wall with Bam too. Like for as much defensive prowess that you bring here, your lack of offense is killing us in this type of game. And we can't continue to play this style of basketball just to accommodate you.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying? Or accommodate Jimmy, right? Because even by his standards, he's not a necessarily offensive threat. Has he done great offensive performance? For sure. And we've seen him, right? And we're grateful for them. But it's not consistent. You know what I mean? Jimmy's never been a 30 points per game guy. I feel like Hero could be a 28, 26 point game guy, 27, you know what I mean? Like it's just off the scoring ability. Other guys are showing it, and they're showing that willing to play for the logo, and that's what matters, dog. Playing for the Heat, the logo, not playing for Jimmy Butler. It ain't that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It definitely ain't that.
It sucks, man. It sucks. The Marlins aren't making any moves. Granted, the season's not there yet, but there's nothing to look forward to there. The Dolphins, we just had our last game of the regular season. Another subpar, mediocre season without a playoff victory.
Yep.
Nothing there, on that horizon. The Heat, which was our beacon of hope, is now starting to dwindle and fade in the distance. Thank the Lord
for the Panthers
that
baby.
we at least have the Florida Panthers still, bro.
Stanley Cup defending champion.
Defending
Panthers.
Stanley Cup champion. Florida Panthers and doing well. I don't know where they're at right now, but I know we're not doing bad because I know we would be hearing about it.
Yeah.
So they're doing at least decent.
They're second in the Eastern Conference in the Atlantic. 4 points behind Toronto.
Right where we want to be.
Right where we want to be, dog. You know what I mean? They have a great home record, a great away record. They've won 12 games in both away and at home, with 8 losses at home and 7 on the road.
Nice.
A team that's
solid,
steady, solid. The guys that are supposed to be producing are producing. Reinhardt's balling. Kachuk is playing much better.
Barkov
is back and he's healthy, right? playing almost damn near every game. Big Bob is still out there making a ton of saves at 36.
And when he's not, Spencer Knight is back there holding it down for him.
Right. So as far as a consistent franchise right now, at least within the last 5 years, it's definitely the Panthers, and nobody can argue that.
It's the changing of the guard in South Florida.
Maybe not the changing of the guard, but it's just a change in the hierarchy, right? Like I said, the Heat are always going to be number one because they have the most success. 3 championships, plenty of runs to the finals, plenty of Atlantic Division titles, like all of that, right?
Panthers are creeping up, though.
The Panthers are creeping up to that number 2 spot, and the distance that the Panthers are creating from the Dolphins is noticeable, because the Panthers owner is not cheap. He's thrown money. We've seen the moves that the GM has made to say, you know what I'm saying? To say, hey, this is one of our key pieces, but we need to get a little bit younger, and let's get these guys in here. And it's worked out. Everything. Gus Forsley is one of those guys that's 24, 25 years old. He can be a player here for the next 5 years easily, right? And those are moves that a GM like Bill Zito will do to say, you know what? When the championship is close, let's go heavy. But when it's not close, let's get younger. And I feel like that's where we're at with the Heat. We're definitely getting younger because we're not near that championship mode. And then we'll be able to build it back up. But for the Panthers, they've just been consistent in their playoff appearances, consistent in their regular season, consistent in trying to make it to the Eastern Conference Finals, which they've done 4 out of the last 5 years. Like this is a franchise that is doing things the right way because they took a page out of the Heat's book and say, how can we get to this level of consistency every year? And it's just refreshing to have that. And granted, I know a lot of people aren't hockey fans or Panthers fans, but if you're talking about getting bang for your buck as far as entertainment on watching it on TV, you're always going to see high-scoring games when it comes to the Panthers. When you're talking about getting your bang for your buck at going to the game, you're always going to get a vibe in Amrant's arena.
You talk about a team that cares, you know what I mean?
Care.
Like right now, like we don't know the identity of the Dolphins. We don't know the identity of the Heat. We don't know the identity of the Marlins. You know, we know what the identity of the Florida Panthers is. You know, that's a championship team right there.
Facts.
That has a really good nucleus and has a lot of really good key players that stick together, like each other, have a good locker room, play well, and compete night in and night out, dude. So that right there is, you know, the recipe for success. And
Absolutely.
That's what we like to see is wins. We like to see winning. We like to see, you know, our teams do well. And that's where we got to look right now if we want to have some sort of positive
for sure
positivity
because like, you know, like I said earlier, like maybe hockey isn't everybody's cup of tea, but you know, if you know anything about the Panthers or hockey, you know that they're going to make the playoffs. You know that that's a team that anybody in the NHL does not want to face when it comes to the playoffs. And they're not getting by just beating whatever team that's hot at the moment. No, they've killed the biggest and some of the most historic teams. The Boston Bruins, the New York Rangers, Detroit, Tampa Bay, even Columbus. Like they've beaten teams, Detroit, like Dallas, the Vegas Knights. They've beaten these teams consistently in the playoffs when it matters. So yeah, this team is focused on what the ultimate goal is, which is being championship contenders. And a lot of those guys in that locker room, for sure they have egos, right? Because everybody wants to play well and do well and feel well, right? And feel like they're contributing to the team. But all those guys are sharing one big goal, which is the logo in the front, and how can we make the logo in the front that much better? Because now we're part of the Florida Panthers, and there's a level of expectations, right? And the Panthers are living up to that level of expectations. I think that the Heat can get back to that, but it's like we've seen before. We're going to have our ups, we're going to have our downs. And when the bad times are bad, they're bad. But guess what? Pat Riley, to kind of put it back to him, he's never been one to stand on his hands or sit on his hands and say, well, I'm not going to make moves. Nah, we know that Pat is able to make moves. We know that he's always in contention to land the next superstar and bring out somebody here that nobody thought that we could get. So I don't doubt that my mans can do it. You know, it's just going to take him some time. And Jimmy Butler's not making it easier for the franchise. But at the end of the day, the franchise is going to do what's best for them. Whether it's trading Jimmy and getting the most that they can for him, or just having him sit the rest of the year and say, fuck it, we'll ride without you, dog. Because there's one thing that stood out to me between all the shit that has been happening with the Heat, and it was Bam's comments. You know, he was like, it's hard to be a leader when you can't count on other guys who are in there. You know, we need to focus on the people who are here, who want to be here, and are grinding. And coming from Bam, who knows that he has to be playing better and has a high ceiling of expectations, for him to come out and say that just shows you that he recognizes the bigger picture. And it's not about one guy, it's about this team. And how can we get this team to be better? So if you want to do that individual solo shit, good luck, my boy. Mad respect off the court and all that. We can be boys, but when it comes to this locker room, we can't have that shit. And we don't have that in the Panthers for sure.
I know that across the league, there's other guys that are disgruntled with their teams and all that. One of them being De'Aaron Fox.
Yeah,
I wouldn't mind some way, somehow, 3-team trade to try to get De'Aaron Fox in that locker room. I think he would be an automatic change of the vibe and change of the energy and explosive, contribute to the explosive offense. That kid's lightning fast.
Absolutely, man. Look, there are moves to be made for the Heat, right? It's just a matter of the other team's willingness to play ball, right? And because we're not a franchise that's going to necessarily hold other franchises over the coal for the best deal possible, but we're going to want to get the best player that you got, because we're giving you the guy that you want. Right, not necessarily the best player in our eyes or whatever, however we may feel about Jimmy Butler, but the Heat are gonna get it done. The Pat is gonna get it done, and even Le Batard said it, bro, that this era of the Jimmy Butler experiment is a failure on Pat, and that's fair as fuck. But he also came out and said, if there's one guy I trust in South Florida to get it right, it's fucking Pat Riley. Because he's done it over and over again, And even when people didn't think that we would ever be able to get another superstar after LeBron left and the shit happened with Wade and Chris Bosh, then all of a sudden we get Jimmy Butler out of fucking nowhere. And we go on these good runs and this, that, and the third. So, yeah, people are quick to forget the bad times and the bad teams, right? But the hardcore Heat fans know that we go through this, dog. We take that slow, steady climb, and when we're at that peak, it's fucking amazing. But after that peak, there's always a downfall, dog, man. Now we're at that point.
We're at the bottom of that downfall, dog.
Yeah, we're definitely riding down there. We're definitely riding down there, dog. But there's still a lot of season left, right? We still got the trade deadline coming up in February, I think 8th or some shit like that, the 6th for the NBA. It's going to be interesting what happens with Jimmy Butler. If you ask me, I think he's out. I think they're going to find a way to get him out of here in order to get some type of good return, whether it's young players and some expiring contracts to open up some salary cap, along with some draft pick collateral, or just getting out disgruntled star like DeAndre Fox, right? I think that's a realistic thing that could happen for the Heat this year. And it may not mean that we turn into a championship contender right away, but at least we'll have a young team that can grow together and get to that level, right? Because let's face it, right now, even as we stand right now with Jimmy Butler being on the team, we're still not good enough to take on the Celtics. I don't think that we're good enough to beat, some of the top tier teams like Cleveland right now is balling.
This team ain't it.
This current version of the Heat ain't it. So I know that Pat knows that, and I feel confident in Pat doing it. I don't think that guy's going anywhere for a while.
All right. Yeah. Fair enough.
Yeah, man.
You know who's not going anywhere for a while? Is this duo right here?
Or the fucking truck that's coming back for a fucking
they're
time.
Fucking done. But we're not going anywhere, dog. 2025, we're gonna keep bringing you all
big year for us,
all
man.
the South Florida sports. All of our teams that we love and hate and love to hate. We're going to keep bringing you all the updates and all the news that comes our way.
And more interviews, man. We got a couple of more interviews that we're going to hope to bring to you. We're going to line up some Major League prospects that we know personally, right? Some guys that are playing in college sports, right? Whether it be basketball, football, some baseball guys. We're going to bring you a lot more interviews. We're going to bring you some more interviews with some of our BKFC guys as well, because we show a lot of love to that organization, and they show it back.
They show love.
No doubt. But yeah, man, bigger and better things here in 2025, dog. Especially now that I got my dog back, we're rolling full steam ahead for 2025, man. Make sure you guys are hitting that like, comment, and subscribe button, because that's the only way you can join this excellent ride that we're going to take you on. And then you turn on those notifications, and every time we drop something hot like this, you guys get notified right away for you to tell a friend to tell a friend.
To tell another friend.
To tell one more friend.
To tell everybody they know.
About this dope-ass podcast called Sports with SoSo. We're bringing it to you on our YouTube channel, man. Make sure you guys showing us some love. Shout out to everybody who's subscribed. We're up to 8,000 right now. Steady climbing.
Yes, sir.
We're killing it. South Florida's feeling it. So hopefully we can continue to bring it to you on a weekly or monthly basis. We haven't decided yet.
We're just going to keep doing what we do, and you follow along.
Yes, sir. And until next time, y'all.
Peace.